This is a 2022 Shelby GT500 Hertz edition. Now, if you know your history with Shelby and Hertz, you know that you go way back all the way to 1966. Shelby and Hertz had a rent-a-racer program where you could rent a Shelby GT350. They offered different color options, and most of them were automatic cars, but the most common and popular one was the black with gold stripes. And as you can see in this picture, they decided to do it again with the 2006 Mustang GT in the center and the 2016 Mustang GT on the right. So these GTs, like this 2016, has the 5.0 liter Coyote engine in it, and basically it had an exhaust system on it. It didn't really have much other than that. They were performance package cars, I believe, and stuff like that. But basically they were appearance cars, and they were able to be rented. If you look closely, you can tell small differences, but they did change a little bit for 2022. You can see the grille has a different Shelby molding and appearance, and you can see the 2018 plus headlights there, so you can tell it's a newer one, and the curved taillights, the big Shelby call out in the center between the taillights as well. But as far as the GT500 goes, and according to the seller's numbers, they only made 26 of these cars, and this is number 4. Now, this car is a lot different than the GT with the 5.0 liter. This is a 5.2 Predator V8. It is a GT500, and it has an upgraded Whipple supercharger that's the 3.8 liter. So this is basically the same thing as the GT500 KR that was offered on this year of Shelby GT500. And so these are about 950 horsepower. Of course, they're on a conservative tune. The smaller 3-liter Whipple supercharger could have easily gotten it to the 900 range, or even the stock supercharger with a pulley and different octane. But basically, they just wanted to put a big blower on it, make it kind of special and neat to drive. So I'm sure it's on super low boost so that it's reliable and it's not pushing it too hard. But regardless, it's a very neat option, and it's a beautiful car. Now, this car is special because this one was most likely never rented out. It is number 4, and it was currently for sale for $330,000. Some people scoffed at that price, but this is a pretty rare car, and also being one that was probably not rented to the public. So this could have belonged to a higher up at Hertz or something like that. Sometimes they would put these in the Hertz showrooms in the previous years to show them off, and they weren't rented out. Now this one has the Recaro seats with the Shelby GT500 Hertz logos on them. If you looked at the website when they offered the car, it had the comfort seats in there with the Shelby GT500 Hertz logo on them as well. So that's the only difference I'm really seeing on this car. This one was being offered for sale on Facebook, and it had less than 1,000 miles on it. So that would probably show that this car was in a private collection and it was held back. Now, something that sets this car apart from other GT500s is the fact that this is an actual real Shelby that was actually modified by Shelby American. Some people who own older GT500s like the 07 all the way up to 2023 and the GT350s, they don't really have true Shelbys with a Carroll Shelby number such as this car has. And unless you took your GT500 and had it converted into a Super Snake or a GT500 KR, it is just a Ford Mustang that was produced at Ford and has badges on it that say Shelby. But to be a real Shelby with a true Shelby number on it, it needs to be modified by Shelby. So that's real funny when you go to a car meet and you talk to these guys who are super into their Shelbys with their big jackets on and stuff, and they brag about having a Shelby when really all they have is a Ford Mustang. This is basically the same thing as having the Hot Wheels edition Camaro. This is a Camaro that had the rights to use the Hot Wheels logo and make a Hot Wheels edition Camaro. So basically that's the same thing Ford did with the Shelby Mustang. All the Shelbys are made at Ford, and then they're taken to Shelby to be converted. Now, the Shelby GT, which is similar to the Hertz one, like we looked at earlier, that 2006 Hertz one, these Shelby GTs actually have a Carroll Shelby number on them. And so even though a lot of people don't like them as much because they're not a GT500, they are technically more of a Shelby than the GT500 or GT350 is of the newer cars, because they were actually produced at Shelby American and have a Shelby number. Now, these Shelby GTs are no more than a 3-valve Mustang GT with some suspension and a cold air intake and exhaust system, so they're really nothing that special, but people really don't like them because they're not the expensive Shelbys, and so you do have some Shelby owners who don't like them, but they really are Shelbys. And speaking of these cars, something funny about the '06 Hertz renters were they actually had a cable from strut tower to strut tower that is supposed to keep you from stealing the engine out of these cars. It's a cable that if it's cut, it shows the engine could have been removed, and that's something they did just for fun, to be nostalgic of the old 66 Rent Racers, because people were stealing the high-performance 289s out of those and putting them in their own Mustangs and then returning the Hertz cars. And so they did that in '06, but I think it's funny. They should do that more in today's GT500 with the 3.8-liter Whipple and a 5.2 Predator engine. But they did not continue with that heritage. Now, looking back at this GT500 that's for sale, I noticed it has a carbon fiber gurney flap up there with the Shelby logo on it. That does not appear to be the same as what was in the promotional pictures of the spoiler of the Hertz GT500H, so that might have been changed. There might have been a couple of things that were changed on this car, or maybe that's because this one has the Recaro seats and maybe it had some extra pieces like that. That's hard to tell the details on that, but the point is, this car was for sale, and it is very special, and people who want a dog on the price need to know that this is a very rare, limited edition Shelby that, you can't just buy, and if you were to buy one of the 26, they were most likely rented out, and so this is something that you're not going to get your hands on very easily. And with the 2023 being the last year of the GT500 of this platform, this is a pretty special car. Now, one thing I also noticed was in the promotional pictures on the bottom left, there is no 60-year badge, which is Carroll Shelby 1962 to 2022. But on this car, it does have that badge. I don't know if that was added to this vehicle or if it was something that they did end up putting on at the end. Now, the seller of this car claimed that it was 4 of 26 produced. But according to the Shelby website, and I don't know if the Shelby numbers had changed, but it said there were going to be 19 of these produced and 6 in Oxford White. Something to mention about these Shelbys as well is they were rented for $399 a day for the GT500 Hertz. And that came with an allotment of only 75 miles is all you could drive it. And then if you went over that, you had to pay 75 cents a mile after that. I did also see that they said you are not allowed to enter this car into any races if you do rent it. So that's unlike the previous ones in the Hertz history, like the 66. But the normal GT Hertz car with the 5.0 in it was about $100 a day, and so you could see those around more. I've seen a couple of them actually driving around. Now, something that I thought was really cool was I was at Shelby American when they were converting the Hertz cars. So there's a GT500 there, maybe another one in the bay next to it, and then 2 of the Hertz 5.0s here, and one of the ultra rare white 1 of 6 GT500 Hertz cars right here. And so I had a hard time finding pictures of one of the white GT500 Hertz cars, but there's one right there. And so earlier I had mentioned that these GT500s were similar to the KR, the GT500 KR that Shelby was making in these years. And if you look closely, you can see the hood does have the extra heat extractors. Actually, they said it's a different hood that shaves weight off as well. And so that's something that I thought I'd mention because it blends in with the black. Very hard to notice sometimes unless you're really looking for it. But there is no doubt that this is a special car and that the ones produced like it were special. And it was fun to watch the Hertz commercials if you watch the one where the young lady takes one and drives through the desert in Nevada and rents the car and goes and takes a picture, it's pretty cool. And if you look closely in that video, you can see she's sitting on the normal Shelby seats, not the Recaro seats. So that would not be this car that was used for that. And I'm not sure if they had personalized plates or not, if the hertz numbers matched anything like on the license plate. But I think they did a fantastic job with the commercial, with the sound of the engine, the scream of the supercharger car roaring through the countryside. So it was really fun to watch, and then they take it to Vegas at the end, but just really cool. So pretty rare car, pretty neat car. Of course, the rental racers have always brought good money. It's funny that somebody would want to buy a car that was a rental car before. I've heard that joke before, even with people who have the original cars. But anyway, really neat to see this and see the heritage continue and see Shelby and Hertz get together and do that again. So this car might be worth some money. All of these cars, I'm sure, will probably be worth some money, and everybody kind of thought that at the get-go, and they started announcing they were going to do this. So let me know, do you think this car in this case is worth over $300,000? Some people compare it to a Ford GT and say that's a lot of money. You could be getting something for that money, but then again, it's a pretty rare car, and it looks like it was well taken care of. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments or if there's anything I missed, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.